We are back. You're listening to You Would Think, the Philadelphia Flyers podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Collington, and joining me today, it's the one, the only, you know who it is. It's our lovely little co-host over here, Mr. Kevin Durso. How are you, buddy?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing all right. It's good to be back. Another 2-week break, and I'll be honest with you, we don't have much to talk about. We're doing.
We do and we don't, because
we have one thing that we're going to talk a lot about, but that's kind of about it, right? So. I'll be honest with you guys, there's still not a whole lot of news. We know the NHL. We actually don't know much about what the NHL is doing. We're still here January 1st. There's talk about mid-January. The only thing we really got over the last 2 weeks is the release of the reverse retro jerseys, which Adidas and the NHL put out. We're going to grade them all. Mm-hmm. And there's, we'll get there. There's things to say, and we're going to start with the Flyers, so don't get it twisted. We're going to start with a good one. But in the meantime, the league update, right?
Yeah.
So we heard as the bubble kind of closed, as Tampa gets their cup, as the shift kind of starts moving towards next season. By the way, top of your head, who did Tampa play in the cup final?
Dallas.
Okay. I thought about that earlier today, and it took me a solid 10 seconds to remember that it was the Dallas Stars in the Stanley Cup final. Even though it was a month and a half ago, it feels like it was 2 years ago, and I could not remember.
I get that.
But either way, as the bubble collapsed and Tampa gets their cup and everybody goes home and the view starts to look towards next season, January 1st was kind of the first big date we heard.
Right.
How are things standing in terms of the NHL meeting that date?
Well, it's not very good, obviously, at this point, because you're running out of time. I mean, we're sitting here. It's Sunday, November 22nd, as we record this. You're probably listening on November 23rd. Maybe you're taking advantage of a short week and listening on Tuesday or Wednesday, or maybe you're doing this before you have dinner with the family on Thanksgiving. And I hope that it's a good one for everybody, because we can at least be thankful that we're here to talk about this right now. You be thankful that we're alive.
Should we be thankful for these jerseys?
We'll get to that.
Some of them. We'll get to it.
Some of them we should be thankful for, yes, because there's designs that have been brought back from the dead.
There are definitely some designs I'm super that I am
excited about, that I love. And
we'll get into that.
And things like that. So meeting January 1st was always going to be a little difficult the longer it went on, obviously. I think, first things first, I think that we associate the NBA and NHL kind of as one and the same to an extent, because they're both winter sports and the timelines match. So when the NBA kept saying, look what we've got a schedule, we've got an amount of games, we know how the playoffs are going to work.
We got to start nailed down December 22nd.
Right. Yeah. Everything about it. And not only that, but now they're executing their off season quickly. So
Dwight Howard is a Sixer. If anybody listening to this show cares.
Right. But it's funny how they did it, where the NBA finals ended. They kind of took a month off, and then all of a sudden came back and went rapid fire, draft, free agency, trade market opens, all these things happening. And oh, by the way, a month from now, you're going to get games.
Yep.
That quickly. And it's pretty exciting stuff when you have it lined up and you go, we're going to find a way to make this work. And I think everybody thought the NHL was going to follow suit in terms of at least trying to be on track. They had their offseason mapped out for the earlier portion. So they finished the season and it was draft, free agency. Let's hit it quickly,
right.
Get it done. So it's already taken care of. And now you're waiting. And it, like we said last time we were on, it feels like the August portion of the offseason right now.
It certainly does. Yeah.
But I don't know when September is, that's the other part of it. I don't know when September is yet, when you get to that point. So
we don't know when players are going to start showing up for training camp.
Sure. And obviously the thing that they're waiting for is basically a plan. And there are good things out of the last couple updates that I've seen, because there are things that feel very concrete, that feel they're nothing set in stone, and things change quickly. But
it looks like there's going to be a Canadian division.
Well, and there's an outline that's in place that you say, this feels like it's very realistic. This is how it's going to happen, and this is the way we've got to do this, right?
Yeah.
And the problem is that you hear about this snag in negotiations with money. We're talking about money going to the players, right? In terms of
pretty much, it's contract deferrals or rollbacks, something in
right. It's deferrals. It's escrow, which is supposed to balance out the 50-50 revenue balance, which by the way, obviously isn't going to match up right now, because players are making one amount, which is in their contracts, and basically every team right now and team owner is sitting here going, I'm not making as much money as I normally do because I can't host people.
They're not making
literally
much
can't
money
host
at all.
People.
Right.
And this year is going to be a struggle because chances are you're starting with empty arenas. Let's clear that up right now.
Empty or supremely reduced.
I'd say supremely reduced if you're lucky.
If you're lucky.
You'd have to be very lucky now to get there.
The Dallas Stars are probably going to be able to put fans in the building. The Florida Panthers are probably going to be able to put fans. Listen, the Florida Panthers are going to be at 100% of their normal attendance this year. All 12 fans are going to be able to get their season tickets and sit just fine. Everyone gets their own section, 60 feet apart, not even 6 feet apart. Florida Panthers are fine. Most COVID-friendly team in the league.
That's a team we trash the most, I guess. It's got to be. We always, if we need a joke, we always have them. Wow.
And in fact, most of the time, they even stay 6 feet away from the puck. Florida Panthers are doing a great job.
You're unleashing on this team today. It's really funny. All right, let's see what else we got here. So anyway, let me get back to the thing. So it hit a snag, and I think there's two reasons why you need to figure this out. One is that you want viewership because when you're on. And I understand that ratings were down for just about everything across the board, and I think that has a lot to do with two very important things going on in the world that take precedent over sport. Right. I don't need to mention what they are. I'm sure you can deduct.
Right.
But one thing is actively on. Well, I shouldn't say it. Both things are actively ongoing depending on how you view it. Right. So let's just say that. So people's attention was diverted. Right. Let's just say that people's attention was diverted. So if you didn't remember or didn't think about how the NBA finals and the Stanley Cup finals are in September and October.
Right.
Like that's a little weird. I'm not thinking about that.
I forgot who won. Or I forgot who lost. Right? I forgot the Dallas Stars even made it.
And even down to something like, the Masters was last weekend. And the ratings were down for that too, because it's not the first weekend of April that everybody knows it to be. And it just wasn't, and it was, like we said, there's ongoing things happening. You're not focused maybe on that. So your ratings are down. I don't think.
Real quick, what you mentioned the Masters. Sorry, we're not a golf show at all, but it's a summer show and you get a little bit of whatever you get here. Did you see that shot on the par 3 of the guy skipping it across the water? What is that?
This has been talked about so much. Even, it's really funny. Now,
please tell me they're calling that the Jesus shot. That man walks on water.
Well, first of all, it's a practice shot. It's not a real round shot. It's practice rounds. That's for one.
That's disappointing.
Two, everybody does it. All of these golfers know how to do that shot. It's just that this is one person in particular. And if you didn't see the video, it's John Rahm, who's a Spanish golfer.
Okay.
Who is very talented, by the way. I follow golf probably a little more than you do, Kyle.
It's the golf version of doing the Svechnikov in practice all day.
Kind of, I guess. But
and then when somebody actually does it, right.
Very rarely do you get it to not only skip all the way across the water,
but then go in
and land on the green, but get it to go in too. So it's like, that's, that's.
I got you.
Yeah. So, but nonetheless.
Sorry, I just had to mention that you brought up the Masters, and it's the only golf news I care about. Or Tiger Woods shooting a 10 on a par 3. That's pretty funny too.
Making all of us feel better about our own golf games. Somebody has to do it.
You're good.
Yeah. Somebody has to do it. So it's fine that, we can bring all those things into it, but ratings are going to be down for all these things. That's what we were trying to get at. So
for sure,
viewership is important though, because you have the diehards, you have the people who are going to watch no matter what time of year it is, no matter what the situation is. And a lot of us did it during the bubble. It was not going to be the same as we know it. That's not the playoff hockey we know and love, but it was still good. It was still entertaining. We were still really locked into it. And that's the point. So I think viewership is important because you not only do you need the viewership, but you need to continue to compete with the NBA. Like, that you have a demographic that says this or that. I can tell you, once hockey was over, I watched a lot more basketball games than I'm used to because it was what was on. And I will do the same thing again if there's no hockey on, because I want to watch something like that. That is no doubt about it. My diversion from everything else going on is that if I can sit down for 3 hours and football is on, or a basketball game is on for 2.5 hours, or whatever, the World Series is on, like it was late October, right, I will watch it because it's on. Yeah. So you need the viewership. You need to pay attention to that. And then the second thing is that kind of goes hand in hand with that is fan loyalty. Like, we've been here before. Okay. You know what I mean? Like, there's diehard fans out there who kind of look at this and know that particular word. And I will say it later because it hasn't been discussed, but you know what word I'm talking about. When we hear that word, it triggers something that is, very traumatic. because, and granted, both of us were too young to really remember 1995's version of this.
We can just say
But
here,
the-
we're
but
talking about,
2004
we're talking about lockout shortened seasons.
Right. But 2004, 2012,
Man,
you think about those years and you go,
watching the announcement when they when Bettman came out and talked about the fact that they were canceling the season and there wasn't going to be NHL hockey in 2004, 2005. And I was like 12, 13 years old. And I remember just watching the TV with my jaw on the floor. Just, what do you mean there's going to be no hockey?
Right.
What? But in 2012, 2013, we got a version of, I think, kind of what you're building towards. We're looking at maybe potentially a season that looks a little bit like that season did.
Well, sort of. What I was trying to get at with that is that when you start to do, like, we just spent the summer praising everybody for figuring out a way to harmoniously do this. There was no owners versus players thing. There was no discussions between both sides that went bad. It was literally a common goal about the cup. We can get this thing done. Let's finish the season. Vibe. And they brought it back and they found a way to do it. And we sat here and we still have, to an extent. It's, man, boy, did Gary Bettman just get something extremely right? Like, we got to give this guy props. We got to give all these guys props.
The NHL takes that, because it's the cup thing, very seriously.
They do, but
owners put aside millions of dollars because it's the cup. And
so you just got through this portion of it where we're praising everything because you found a way to make this happen.
Did everything right.
And did everything right.
They did a great job. Not only did you
no
cases in the bubble.
Exactly. Not only did you plan accordingly for coming back and put together a return plan and a new CBA, but you also then executed the return to play.
Nobody got strip club chicken wings.
Right.
Nobody did anything. Nothing.
And that's not to say that it was all sunshine and rainbows and it was perfect. The bubble was not perfect because players kind of were like, well, it wasn't exactly what we thought it was going to be, but we dealt with it anyway.
There was a lot of complaints out of the Edmonton bubble that it was a little bland.
And there were teams that I think we could kind of tell their heart wasn't necessarily, it felt like their heart wasn't as in it as they normally would be because it was just something different. Well, and I'm thinking even, a Boston style type thing and all that.
Boston and Washington, I think, were the two biggest teams affected by the bubble circumstances.
Right. So that's the thing with it. And you have a case right now where, okay, so money is the issue. Let's just not sugarcoat that. Money is the issue because after putting together a CBA where you wanted them to, to figure out the way to balance that revenue. And it was supposed to be eventually that it would be a 50-50 split. You're talking owners, players, there's escrow involved. And there was supposed to also be the potential to defer salary for the players, to defer these payments. So this way, everybody's suffering in one way or another. There's loss no matter how you even at the highest level, you could be making millions of dollars. You've still lost something from this whole thing.
Everybody's portfolio even if it's taken a hit.
Yes. Even if that doesn't mean that you're, not well off from it, obviously a player, like let's just take Connor McDavid, for example, you have a contract like that. I'm sure you have more than enough money to get through everything, but you are also not getting everything that you signed for.
Sure.
So
you're still losing.
You still are owed something because
right.
You signed a contract and you didn't sign that going, well, gee, how's the world going to change? Right. So obviously that's part of what you're negotiating against and what the whole deal is. Obviously the players have a right to be upset because they, and I think they should be to an extent because they've said all along, they planned for this. They talked in the negotiations when they put the CBA together. And it was, if it's not the perfect scenario, if it's the worst case scenario and we can't play with people, that we have to structure it in a way that everything survives.
Yep.
And they've done that. It's just now the owners are trying to get even more out of this. And, and now it's a matter of seeing where it goes, because obviously now you've done something where the players are feeling a little bit betrayed by this.
Well, sure. And we, thankfully, one thing we can keep in mind, you mentioned a lockout earlier. One thing we can be grateful for is the fact that while they were negotiating return to play, the NHL and the NHLPA also just negotiated the next CBA and got labor peace for the next 6 years. So we don't have to worry about a lockout coming because of this.
Well,
at least anytime soon.
They did, but see, that's the thing too. Like the players accounted for this. They knew the scenario. Now the owners want to change it. This is, you can't, for people who want the public to help put money into their pockets, and that's the owners I'm talking about at this point, the way you keep people interested in your team or in your sport is not by having disagreements 4 months after you tell everybody labor peace for 6 years.
Right.
You know, you don't start to create a situation out of this because you accounted for something. So let's get into something else for a minute with this, because let's get into the stuff that we think we know or we think will probably happen.
Yeah, let's look towards next season. What do we know or we think we know at this point?
So it sounded like, and I think it was Elliot Friedman who had this, there's a 60-game schedule in place.
Okay.
Which would be interesting. I certainly like the sound of that more than what we were talking about, I think, last time we were on, which was more along the lines of that 48 that we got in 13.
Yeah, I think 60 is going to be a little optimistic.
It might be, but
I worry about the NHL doing 60 games looking a lot like the MLB doing 60 games, where teams ended up playing, 50 to 52, depending on how many cases they had. So I kind of would rather go a little on the lighter side, maybe go with that 48 and leave a little bit more wiggle room for maybe some made up games or, things that are going to come up.
Well, let's put it this way. Let's establish the 60-game thing with this also.
Okay.
60 games, I think, is January 1st to mid-May.
Okay.
So you have about between 4 to 5.5 months to play 60 games, which actually sounds realistic.
Right.
And there's also supposed to be a 1-week period between the regular season and the playoffs that would allow for postponements if anything is needed.
Okay.
So if you have a situation, then it allows for you to take a game off, and games are going to be done rapid fire, by the way. Like this is supposed to be baseball series style.
Right.
Then when you get to the end of the regular season,
and there's talk about teams playing all their games within their divisions too.
Yes. And we'll talk about that. And we'll talk about that in a second, because there's two very important points to that.
Yeah.
So the regular season would be done by mid-May, and then they would basically be able to start the playoffs and complete the playoffs, as we saw with the bubble, within 2 months. So July 15th,
because they're talking about finishing. A hard out in July.
Yes.
Because
mid-July specifically, because of the Olympics. The Olympics start on July 23rd.
So that is worth noting for any of our listeners who may not be aware.
Right.
The NHL will not be playing games after the Olympics start, basically, just because of how the TV deals work.
So here's the other thing. So the realigned divisions supposedly are in place too, by the way. Now,
okay.
The two things I want to bring up about the realigned divisions, one you already mentioned to an extent,
is the Canadian division.
Yeah. And that's pretty much logical at this point. And there's enough reasons to think about
border issues. Well, and that's one reason I wanted to mention when you were talking about the NBA earlier is logistically, they can do what they did with the Blue Jays this year and put them in Buffalo and just say, okay, there's no Canadian teams.
Right. And
essentially
they took Toronto and they put them in Tampa Bay.
Right. You can't do that with the NHL because there's seven Canadian teams, right?
But actually, in an interesting way, it balances out really well, because the seven teams are eight. Right. So the 7 are actually the odd number. And realistically, even down the road, and I'm not saying that next season, please, dear God, we do not want to have this again next season. The goal is to, I think very clearly, as I mentioned last time 2 weeks ago, the goal is get this thing back to more normalcy for 2021-22. October start. Normal travel, every team plays each other, fans back, all of that. And that's a long way off. That's 11 months off, so you have time to get to that point without worrying. I mean, right now we worry about the current season that you don't even have a schedule for yet before you worry about the following one. But clearly the goal is to try to do everything in basically a 6.5 month span, have a shortened off season from July to September, and then come right back and go from there the way that we always have, basically.
Right.
The Canadian, even if you did have to do this down the road, though, Seattle is close enough to the Canadian border that you could probably just, if you could find a location for them, cross them over and say,
right, if fans aren't in here
anyway,
too. Yeah.
And then balance it out again. So 8, 8, 8, and 8. But I think so that all works. Now, did you see the realigned division proposed at least?
I didn't see the aligned division, but if I had to guess, the Flyers division would lose Columbus and Carolina and gain Buffalo and Boston.
Okay. Basically. You're right about Columbus. You're wrong about Carolina.
So we would lose Columbus and Pittsburgh?
Yes.
Oof, I don't like that.
I know there's a lot of people that are kind of sitting there going, how can you have this division and have them play each other all the time and not have Flyers Penguins?
Right.
I
Like it was
now,
just your stadium series 2 of the last 4 year or 5 years.
right. Now, Carolina is very much an East Coast team, so I think that plays into it. Now, granted,
I agree.
I don't see the difference though between Carolina as an East Coast team and then Tampa Bay and Florida as an East Coast team. Like they're going to travel as part of the Central Division.
Yeah, well,
it's that.
Again, until we know, we don't know, right? We only hear speculation. And
right.
Really,
I think
honestly, at the end of the day, that is the big thing about this, is that we really don't know. And until they announce it, we're not going to know anything definitively.
Sure. Now, so let's put it this way. So basically, this is where we are. Then January 1st, like we said, is still the target. But this whole discussion on the money side makes things very difficult. They basically, from where we're talking right now and from where you're listening, whenever, just know that the episode launched on Monday, the 23rd, right? They basically have a week from that point to figure this out. If January 1st is going to, for a regular season, is going to be realistic. If not, we're going into January and we're moving closer to February. Now, everything that I've said about it to this point is out there. It's been floated around, the 60 games, the division realignments, the January 1st target. Everything is out there already, right? So this next part from me, this is not based in fact. This is just my read on the situation.
This is speculation.
And again, I don't think, like, it's not that the NHL and the players are sitting here going, we don't want to play, or pushing for no season or talking lockout or anything like that. Both sides know the game doesn't want it, and they know that they need this to happen in some way, or know the repercussions of it not happening. You know what I mean? Like if there's a lockout, they know that the sport is going to suffer greatly if they do that.
Absolutely.
So if you don't,
a lockout at this point in time is death.
Okay. But if you do not have things mapped out to a point where you can start the regular season, in my opinion, if you can't start this regular season by February 1st, then you're going to lose games from the 60 game schedule for sure. And you're probably going to put whatever's left in jeopardy if you're not figuring it out by then.
At that point, 48 becomes the
I don't know that you can even. I don't even know if you can play below 40. To be honest, I mean, 40 is just about half.
At that point, you're praying for 48, because I think 48 is about the minimum you need to run a season.
Exactly. But that's just,
I think that's why that was the number in 2013.
Right. But to me, that's just logic. To me, that's, if you say we're going to start and the start date is not firm yet, and it keeps getting pushed back, but you need to try to finish by mid-July, then logic tells you if you cut it down from 6.5 months to 5.5 months and beyond, possibly, how are you supposed to, basically in 3.5 months of a regular season, by the way, how are you supposed to execute anything more than maybe 40 games or 48 games?
No, you run into trouble very quickly.
Right. So that's the more alarming thing at this point, is that if they really get that far with it, we already talked about last show how if they can start by mid-January with the regular season, your camp starts on the 1st, and then, all that, you can pull something off. Maybe it's only 48 games. Maybe it's still 60 and you find a way to pull it off. I'd have to see how the structure lines up and with the schedule before you go anywhere with that. But that's where we are with this. And look, now as a Friday night, it's not like everything is in a bad situation completely. There's talks going on, and everybody at the top especially keeps talking every day. So that's Gary Bettman for the NHL and Donald Farr for the Players Association. And they've been in communication every day. Now, it does not mean you're getting the full exec board of the Players Association on calls every day. You're not getting the greater players group on calls every day, but you're at least trying to keep the lines of communication open. No one side has said, we're not talking to you and shutting it out. The thing at this point in time, though, it's very hard to see this working out to start the season on January 1st right now. Things can change rapidly. If we go and wake up in one of these days and over the course of the next week, and all of a sudden you've got something that's much better in place, maybe it can happen. But it's not, it's at least not to a point where it's, the season's not dire yet. It's not like we're seeing one side say it's not going to happen, but it's also not like we're close,
Right.
So it's a grim situation, and we'll just have to sit back and kind of wait and see, because it's a grim situation around the world right now.
Yeah.
We're trying really hard to do what's right, to listen and to help out whatever way we can to get past the pandemic that's been going on and has been in complete control of the majority of the world at this point.
Yep.
Because obviously things have changed. A lot of things have changed, and we've done a lot of things differently.
Well, I do think it's worth mentioning on a positive note that there are 2 vaccines that look supremely promising.
Sure,
and I imagine that if those vaccines were to be approved and become available, sports leagues would pay a large amount of money to get access to those fairly high on the list.
Potentially.
So there's a chance that, that just happens, and a lot of our issues fade into the background a little
right
bit.
now. And so, like I said, but the pandemic's been in complete control for a majority of the world, for the majority of the year at this point. But I can tell you, and I know, speaking for myself, I'm sure speaking for you and speaking for a lot of people who listen to us, our own personal world, what we do on a daily basis, would be a lot brighter if we had hockey games on, because it makes you feel, you know what I mean? And like, I've done my part with this. I've stayed home constantly and consistently. I don't go anywhere. For work, I don't go to work physically. I haven't had to. I'm lucky in that sense, I suppose.
Absolutely.
And the bottom line is that I can tell you that for everything that has gone on throughout the last several months, when I had to just stay here and stay home as much as possible, the days when I could wake up and say, you know what, there's games on it. Well, there's games on at 12 o'clock in the afternoon, and they're going to be on until 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night. It's much more enjoyable, and I don't feel so much like I'm listening to everything else that's going on. You know what I mean? Like, it definitely did its job, and it makes me feel so much. And it makes me feel, better. It gives me something to do. It gives me something to look forward to. It's all of that. And that's, I think, the best thing that we can have right now is something to keep our minds busy, and something to give us something to look forward to. You know, hey, the season's coming up. That's something to look forward to.
Well, speaking of things to look forward to, during this upcoming season that we don't know much about, we do know theoretically that at some point in time, NHL teams will be wearing different jerseys.
Yeah, I hope we get to see some of these very soon. I will tell you that.
I don't know. I haven't heard anything about when are they wearing these? Like, what are the circumstances? Have they announced anything along those lines, or are they just like, hey, here's these jerseys? Like, do we know when they're wearing them? Are they just regular thirds? Like, how's this going?
They are wearing them. It just says select dates throughout the season. I think.
Well, I don't think they want to promise too much right now, because we talked about.
First of all, I don't think they want to promise much. And don't get me wrong, like anything else, like teams that were promised all-star games or drafts or anything like that, if something happened that prevented them from going into use this year,
they'll make it.
They would just move it to the next year. Right. That wouldn't shock me in the slightest. Now we're gonna do something here, and I can't believe we're gonna do it because and I suggested it, but I can't believe we're gonna do it because even within our own group chat, as we talked about these, I made a comment, and I think you know where I'm going with this, where I even said, I don't watch the game for the jerseys. It doesn't really bother me one way or another. And don't get me wrong, when I was younger, the jerseys are everything. You love the look of a jersey, and sometimes you don't even care. And it's very much, it's very much a 90s kid thing too, because
we'll hear the phrase 90s a lot during this conversation.
But it's a pop culture thing too, because you would see music artists wearing jerseys in music videos, or people would wear them in movies and things like that.
LA Kings jersey.
Right. Absolutely. It's a thing in pop culture. So you kind of get it doesn't mean or it didn't have to mean I like said team or I like said player or whatever.
It was just a fashion symbol.
Right. Absolutely. It was just a fashion statement. And if you found one that you actually liked, that you said, I like the look of this jersey, you might get it because you like the look of that jersey.
Absolutely. You might not know anything about hockey.
Right. So as much as it sometimes feels to me like a bit of a pointless discussion sometimes, because it really doesn't, let's just in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't matter. You can like a jersey, you can not like a jersey. That probably doesn't mean you're not watching the game. You know what I mean?
Right.
You're still watching.
I don't know, man. Those jerseys those Flyers jerseys from a couple of years ago with the gold numbers, man, it was tough to watch those games. I was not a fan of those jerseys.
Wasn't exactly easy to cover them either, if you know what I'm saying. Like,
especially that big gold 47. I really hated watching that one skate around the ice.
Either way, I was talking about the fact that it's far enough. When you're sitting 300 feet away, at least, maybe more.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Yeah, it's awful.
Okay,
let's talk about this version of the Flyers jersey.
Sure. So let's this way, and I want to start with this because regardless, like I said, you watch no matter what. I will start by saying this: when the Flyers unveiled, they had an alternate orange. You remember the alternate oranges from the early 2000s, the 3D logo. I hated them the first time I saw them, but I still learned. And so if you have that sentiment, like I hate this jersey. Look, I learned to adapt to that third jersey and just watch the game. And I didn't care if they wore it or not because it didn't matter. I was there to, I'm watching the team. I'm not watching the jersey per se. So this, let's just say, for all this discussion, I think this is a very cool concept that the NHL is doing and Adidas is doing. I think this is cool, giving every team something that ties to the past. I think,
and a lot of them look really good. I want to say that off the start. A lot of these look really good.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the teams hit on these and did well by them, and some missed the mark. Now we're gonna do
the Flyers jersey.
Well, we said. All right, so we said we're going to do letter grades, by the way. So I'm going to kind of just disclose from the beginning, and then we'll get into the Flyers one.
Yeah, go for it.
I did not grade generously to some extent on some of these.
Okay.
So I only have 4 teams.
You're a harsh critic.
I only have 4 teams that earned an A grade of some kind.
Okay.
And I have 4, but I also only have 4. Oh, and by the way, to start, I didn't fail anybody. I didn't give anybody an F.
Oh, okay. We're different.
I stopped at D. Okay.
We are different.
I stopped at D because I wasn't going to go that far with it because I'm not going to trash.
You don't want to piss off Canucks fans?
That's okay.
We'll get into that.
We're going to disagree on that. I didn't mention what they were. Yeah, let's start with the
Flyers jersey. I'm not going to describe all of them. You're going to have to look these up on NHL.com.
Yes.
But I will describe the Flyers one. So it's an orange sweater, the orange front with black shoulders that go down to the elbow. At the elbow, there's like a little cuff with an orange thing. And then the rest of the sleeve from elbow down is white. And it looks like the guy's wearing a t-shirt.
Okay.
This is an F for me.
Oh, goodness. Here we go.
It really, honestly, is all about the bottom half of that sleeve. The fact that you have the black shoulders and then at the elbow, it just hard cuts. It looks like he's wearing a white t-shirt underneath. It looks like he's wearing a black t-shirt, black and orange Flyers t-shirt with a white long sleeve shirt underneath it. And it looks atrocious.
Okay.
That's my opinion.
Okay. All right. So this is the one out of any of them that we're going to talk about that I'm going to go into more detail on.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine.
Because we are a Flyers podcast.
Absolutely.
I think it's a perfectly acceptable jersey, and I'll leave it at that. Now, I had a theory about the design, and I wanted to share this with you. Okay.
Yeah.
The design with which the jersey is actually based on is probably my favorite in franchise history. Now, in general, these were the cleanest jerseys that the team has ever had. Whether you take the orange body, the black body, the white body, whatever it is.
I prefer the black body, but I agree with your
But there's a piping along the shoulder. The shoulder runs down about 3/4 length of the sleeve. And it was always pretty much, unless with the exception of I think it was black. So was it a white? It might have still been a black cuff on the black jersey with the white shoulders, if I'm not mistaken. So it pretty much was always a black cuff. Now, here's the thing about this then. So and by the way, to me, that's a classic jersey. It was, remember a few months back, I mentioned a thing that the station did, top 5 90s NHL jerseys.
Yeah.
That was my number 5 because it's such a classic jersey for me.
I don't know why, but I always think of Tony Amonte in a Flyers jersey.
That's I think of that Tony Amonte scored the first goal of the first playoff game I ever went to. Game 1, 04 semifinals against Toronto, by the way.
Yeah, just for whatever reason, when I think of that jersey, I think of Eric Desjardins and Tony Amonte.
I'm pretty sure they were wearing these jerseys too when I saw Eric Desjardins score his final career goal in the playoffs.
With John LeClaire as a close third.
Okay, there you go.
There's my 90s Flyers nostalgia there with Tony Amonte in the early 2000s.
So anyway, this is my theory on the design of the jersey. Because you can do the version of this with the burnt orange body like it is.
Yep.
And you can do this.
And by the way, I am curious to see how burnt orange that actually is in person because it looks pretty bright.
I think
they called it a burnt orange, but it looks kind of
darker
like
than what it's darker than what the current is, but it's not as dark as it used to be, I think.
It's not. Is it the same color that they used a couple of years ago in the Stadium Series? Is it like
it
that
might
orange?
be that might be a good comparison, but
It's just hard to tell on this jersey.
I don't look. I don't know
picture.
color palettes like that. I'm not going to go into all that,
fair.
but so basically, here's the reason. Here's my theory behind why the jersey looks the way it does. I think we all can agree that the white cuff is not really a good look. It should be black, but then the sleeve would probably not be suited to be black. That would probably be suited to be white, or the shoulders would. But do you realize what I just did by doing that?
What's up?
I just recreated the actual jersey.
Yeah, you just made the jersey.
Right. So if you recreate that jersey, then there is you got to remember Adidas's thing was this is retro dirt jerseys with a twist.
Right.
So the twist is black across the sleeve and white cuff, I guess, to offset the color.
Right.
But I don't, and that's why I said it's a perfectly acceptable jersey.
If the cuff is along the arm ugly.
If the cuff is the only thing you can come up with, then I'm not okay with it. I actually like the shoulders in black. I like the white piping. It's just the cuff, I think, that everybody's kind of going off of.
Yeah,
I even had somebody comment on it when I posted something about it on when I posted the story that it's perfect if the cuff is black.
Yeah.
It's a perfect jersey.
I'm looking at it, and there's something about where the arm meets the body, kind of at that armpit area. There's something weird about how the piping hits that I can't figure out.
It's always no. You know what?
But either way, what's
always looked like that. I gave it a B-.
You gave it a B-. Okay, maybe I was a little too harsh. Maybe it's a D-, but I'm not going much higher than that.
No, but here's all right. So here's the thing. Okay, because that's the only difference I can find between the actual original jersey and the reverse retro. The leak looked terrible.
The leak looked terrible. The leak is very clearly the $80 knockoff version.
Okay. The reveal looked pretty good.
Yeah.
And I want to see him in person to see if I jump this grade. It's far, far from the worst thing I've ever seen for this team.
It's also worth noting that on the NHL's, on all the NHL's marketing and stuff, it seems to be it's the title image from the first commercial. The title image from the first commercial is the Flyers jersey. So, I mean, they must like it at some, on some level.
So
you said you gave it a B-?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. That's a hefty jersey.
And here's the thing. I gave it a B-, and I did this. I actually went down them in order. I didn't grade the Flyers one first and then go to the rest of the league. It's not the best. It's nowhere near the best reverse retro jersey that's out there, but it is far from the worst one I've seen too. So that's why I said it's perfectly acceptable in the middle. Don't love it. Don't hate it. Want to see it on TV a little bit to see how it really looks too. And you know what else a lot of people will say too right now? Show me the rest of the uniform.
I agree. Pant color is going to matter for a lot of these.
Socks, helmet choice. Give me something that gives me even more context, because the jersey by itself.
Well, it's reverse retro. Everyone's wearing Jofas this season, right?
Oh, that would be sick. That would be so sick.
It's not going to happen, but listen, if you really want to go reverse retro with the Flyers, they better be wearing Cooperalls.
No, I would say no, just no.
I know.
But to your Jofa point, let's go see what Peter Forsberg's up to. He does, he has popped into games previously in Philly. So that's pretty fun. All right, we going back to the top now.
Yeah, we're going to go to the top of the list here. We're going to go through every team in the league. We're not going to spend a ton of time on everybody.
No, we're just going to short little portion of it.
Yeah. Well, listen, you mentioned that the Flyers wasn't the worst jersey in the league by a long shot. You know what might be? The Anaheim Ducks.
Okay.
Have you seen the Wild Wing jersey? I'm sure you've seen the Wild Wing jersey.
Well, I sat here and wrote down grades for all of them. So
okay.
Yes.
Yep. So we're looking at this one, and this is a throwback. Again, we're talking very mid 90s. We are talking about the Anaheim Mighty Ducks. Disney still owned the team at this point. This jersey is a throwback. It's really more of a throwback to the cartoon than the actual team, which is weird. What did you give this one? Where are you at here?
Well, I always liked the color scheme, to be honest. I always liked that. I do like the original Mighty Ducks jersey. I had one in white. It was,
the teal and white looks really, really sharp together.
Okay. I hate the Wild Wing logo. I hate it. The design of the jersey itself actually is fine.
Yeah.
It brings the colors in well. I just can't get past the logo. I know there's people out there who actually like this jersey. I put it kind of somewhere in the middle. It's not the worst one per se.
I got a C- on it.
I gave it a C.
Yeah. And I think we're on the
and
same.
I think the missed mark here was choosing the Wild Wing logo over the duck mask.
I agree. Yeah, the fact that you don't go with the original Mighty Duck mask. I wonder if Disney still owns that. I wonder if they refuse to let them wear it as a main crest, because I know they've had it like on the shoulders or as a
well, no, they had an alternate. They had an alternate that had it.
Did they?
They had the anniversary jersey and they used it.
No, you're right. Okay, so next we're looking at the Arizona Coyotes, and this is very 1998 Taco Bell.
Yeah, pretty much.
Tell me I'm wrong. If you remember what Taco Bells were designed like in the mid to late 90s, kind of that cheesy neon sign type thing. This is purple on top, orange along the fringe, the Kachina logo in the center. I love the Kachina logo.
Mm-hmm.
This looks like a knockoff to me. And it looks like it was printed for $80 at a China. Now, that being said, it's a B+, because even a bad Kachina is still great.
Okay, there you go.
But like the flat, something about that flat purple color. I really like it, but it looks phony.
Okay.
It feels very Rocco's Modern Life.
Yeah, I guess so. I see where you're going with it. My grade for this one has progressively gone up since I've seen it. I didn't really love it at first glance, but then I'm thinking about the Kachina and how the Coyotes have brought that back. I love, I think about how much I like the black one, the black Kachina jersey, which
so good.
Which also, by the way, from back in the day, it made me not love the original alternate that they had of this style as much, because listen, classic Coyote head logo, which I like. The purple's actually kind of a nice color choice opposed to the green.
Yeah, it's a little different.
So it's going let's put this way. On the ice, this is gonna pop. This jersey is going to have some pop. No question.
It's going to look great.
So I followed suit kind of with you. I'm not exact, but I gave it a solid B.
Okay. Yeah, I think this is another one where I think sock color choice is going to be important.
Mm-hmm.
But my biggest thing about the Kachina jersey is I love the stained glass. And the fact that this doesn't have any of the stained glass is what kind of makes it look like a cheap knockoff for me.
Okay.
Because that's one of the big things I love about that jersey. Moving on, we have a Boston Bruins alternate jersey that certainly looks like a Boston Bruins alternate jersey. It's just like the regular Boston Bruins jersey, but in yellow. It's a C.
Okay. I like this actually. I like the gold. I'm glad they didn't use the bear as the primary logo,
although they did use the original bear as the secondary shoulder logo.
But exactly. They made reference to it, which I do like. It's not in your face, but it's there. Yep. They honestly should have a gold option as a third jersey. They used a retro logo on this, by the way, so it's not much different from the current one, but it's still retro. And
it is squared off a little bit,
and maybe they change that if it is kept down the road in some fashion, that it's not just a 1-year thing here.
If it becomes their third, kind of like the Flyers Stadium Series jersey.
Right.
Did. Yeah.
I gave this a solid B too, because I think a gold alternate is needed for them.
Listen, that's fair to me. To me, C to me puts it in the middle of the pack, and I think there are some teams that are pretty guilty of, we just changed the color.
Right.
And to me, the Boston Bruins are guilty of that, so they get a C. And I'm not
for what it's
people for it, but they're kind of just getting
for what it's worth with my grading structure, a solid B still gets you 10th through 12th.
Right.
So it's not. So don't think that I'm,
Yeah, you're definitely not
that
saying
I'm not
you
saying
love
it's a top. I'm not saying it's a top jersey by saying it's a B.
All right, now moving on. Here's a jersey I like a lot. The Buffalo Sabres.
Okay.
This just looks really crisp and clean.
Okay.
I love the light blue. Okay. And I love the light blue as the secondary color. Like the fact that the whole jersey is in light blue, white, light blue with yellow as the third. It looks really, really good.
Okay. What's the letter?
You go first with the letter here. I've given my letter for the first couple. I got to mix it up a little bit.
So here's the thing.
I don't know.
I'm going to agree with you on a lot of stuff with this. Tell me on it. Okay. I like everything about this except for two things.
You don't like, wait, let me guess. You don't like Sabres written across the bottom.
That's one. I don't like take the word Buffalo off the bottom of the jersey for
Buffalo,
sure.
Right.
Okay. But so here's the thing. The colors are perfect. The design is definitely clean. Everything about it's great. I take the word Buffalo off the bottom.
Yep. I get that.
And they picked the wrong logo. This jersey
you
looked
want
great.
The slug, don't you?
What?
The Buffalo slug.
No.
No? Oh, you want the
Goat head.
actual. Yeah, you want the goat head. You're right.
Look, this version of this jersey looks great in red and black. In blue and gold, you had to go with the buffalo head here.
Now,
I think they dropped the ball, so I gave it a B-.
And that's funny because when I think of the buffalo head, I think that has to be in black and red.
No, see, I think that if you really wanted to play reverse retro here, you take that design and then throw the new cut or the traditional colors.
There's a team that did something similar to this later on that took an old logo and put the new colors, or
took the new logo,
took the new colors and put the old logo, or the new logo, put the old colors on it. And I was really a big fan of that. So we'll talk about that. Yeah,
same here. If it's the one I'm thinking of,
we'll talk about that in a little bit. So what did you give Buffalo?
I gave it a B-.
You gave it a B-. I'm willing to go B on it, and okay. I feel comfortable with that.
Yeah, and I don't think that's outrageous.
Sure.
I like I said, to see the design of it, it's about as clean of a design as you're gonna find. Honestly,
if only they had players that would be worth buying a jersey of. Because listen, every Buffalo Sabres fan, every Buffalo Sabres fan has to have a Jack Eichel jersey by now. You're not buying a Taylor Hall jersey. He's here for 1 year. Possibly, you better hope Rasmus Dahlin works out. Who else is there?
I don't know.
Are you buying a Kyle Okposo jersey?
You're right.
Come on. Anyway, sorry. Apparently, I just don't like the Atlantic Division. I'm ripping Florida. I'm ripping Buffalo.
This has been too good.
Wait until we get to the Red Wings.
Oh, sure.
So Calgary Flames is our next team in line.
Blasty the horse. Blasty the horse jersey is back.
I'm not a fan. I get the logo. I like the colors. I'm not a fan of the logo. I understand why it exists. I understand why it's there. But what does a horse have to do with Flames? It's a D plus. It's a D plus.
Okay, so I don't know if I love that Blasty the horse is back either.
Yeah,
these were kind of cool jerseys back in the day. I feel like if you were going to go reverse retro, you had to put the flaming C on the jersey in some capacity. Maybe go with a black background as a primary. That would have been kind of sharp.
No, I listened to the latest Steve Dangle podcast, and they brought this up, so I figured I would bring it up as well. I think Calgary ran into trouble with the fact that they just introduced a retro jersey.
Basically, yeah, they just did
last year, basically.
Right, but see, that's why I'm saying a reverse retro would have been cool to do something that featured maybe a similar design to what they wore around 04.
Okay.
And make it a prime, but instead change the primary color to black. So that's why it was something a little bit.
I wouldn't have hated to see them dive into yellow a little bit. Yellow has always been their tertiary color. They've never really gone with yellow, even as a secondary.
Yeah.
And I'd kind of love to see them try something with that.
Yeah, I mean, basically what this is it's essentially a revival of a previous alternate. So for me, it's a C-.
Yeah, that's fair. And I think that makes a lot of sense too. And I'm kind of in a similar ballpark with a D+. We're really not that far.
Right. And let's just say I'm willing to be a little bit more generous if it doesn't feel like a culture shock. Like I've seen this before.
Right. No,
it's okay. Like
speaking of jerseys we've seen before, next up is the Carolina Hurricanes with literally just a gray Hartford Whalers jersey.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Is literally anything different?
No. So here's the thing.
And they just wore the Whalers jersey, the season before last?
Yeah. So
several times.
So I'll go ahead and I'll give my reasoning first, because you've given your reasoning first for a lot of them. So I'll try to
go for it.
I'll try to balance it. On the surface, I loved this because I love the Hartford Whaler jerseys. I even said this in the group chat.
They do get points for putting the whale on the shoulder.
Okay. Now here's the thing. I even said in our group chat that this was on the day we got to see all of them. I said this was in my top 3.
Yeah, I disagree with that.
But I've changed. It's not my top 3 anymore.
Okay.
Here's the thing. I'm not a fan of the gray, silver, whatever you want to call the body of that jersey. You had several options here. You could have gone with a white jersey, green, navy, take your pick.
Yep.
And not only that, but something I've seen a lot of, which is a very true statement, can't deny it. Carolina's gone to this well a lot recently.
Now, so to be fair, they have also put out a bunch of Hurricanes jerseys.
Sure. So it's not
just done a lot.
But so for me, so it's not as much pulling out throwback as other teams did. So I'm giving it a B+. It's good. It's not as spectacular as when Carolina actually had the Whaler greens a couple years ago.
I think they had a really good opportunity here where they could have said, what would the Hartford Whalers jersey look like if they were still around? Like if the team never moved out of Hartford 20 years ago, what would that jersey have evolved into?
That's
and I think that could have been a lot of fun, and you could have done that here. You could have done that with Quebec, Colorado. Some of the more recent moves, you could have done it with Atlanta, Winnipeg, and they didn't really take that
No,
in any of those circumstances.
No, I mean, and there's another theory to this too, because you could also have taken the design of the Hartford jersey and tried to incorporate the Carolina colors to it.
Sure, you could have done a bunch of stuff here.
See, I think in that sense, though, it would be a really clashing jersey. It wouldn't look good because it's such a contrast of color scheme.
Listen, they have enough. Carolina has a couple of different, like they could have done something with the flag. They could have done the flag logo they have. They definitely could have done something here. I think they're pretty guilty of copping out here. Some of these designs are pretty cop out-ish, and I think this is kind of one of the bigger offenders here. That being said, it's a C-, right? They're kind of in that same Boston Bruins territory, but they kind of just did it poorly.
Okay. I mean, I still like the look of the jersey in general. I love seeing the Hartford logo out there. It's
totally. And listen, I like jerseys enough that I would buy basically anything D+ and above here just to have if unlimited money, right?
No, so that's why I still boost the grade a little bit, because it's like, but this went from being basically right on the verge of being an A+ jersey for me down to a B+ that quickly, because I'm like, wait a minute, you know what? It's not only that, but when I got a closer look at it too, and when you saw that, like I said, the body color just really doesn't do it for me. I just don't see them as a silver or gray kind of.
Now, one thing I did want to mention, and I wanted to bring it up at some point. Now seems like a pretty good time to bring it up. One of the things I like that they did with this whole reveal series is the C color. I don't know if you've noticed, but some of the C's, I'm sure you did, but I don't know if our listeners have noticed. Some of these C's, for example, so far the Anaheim Ducks C is teal.
Okay.
And the Carolina Hurricanes Hartford Whalers C is that green color. And we'll see it kind of moving on a couple times. We have a really good example of it coming up in a couple here. That I love how this C integration was done, where sometimes it just boop, a little extra color. Boom. Okay. Here's a green C. And that's a little different. We don't really see that very often in the hockey jersey world.
Right. I didn't go into that kind of detail when I was reviewing them. I mean, I'm sure I would, like, I look at stuff like that. I didn't make it. I didn't let that stuff make or break my grade per se. Okay. That's all. So, but definitely every detail about these jerseys can be mentioned. I'd even sit there and say, I think, because even on the Flyers one, the sleeve numbers are orange outlined in black, I think, or black outlined in, I can't remember which one.
Yeah, they did a bunch of stuff.
Like even that, I'm like, it would have looked better doing it the other way.
Right.
Reverse those colors. And
yeah, but sometimes they nailed it. So they made these little decisions.
Some of these are nailed. Absolutely.
Right. So the next jersey we have here is the Chicago Blackhawks, and they have to have run out, right? They've just run out of Blackhawks jerseys.
I guess. I don't know. It was really.
We have a weird combination of things here, right? The Blackhawks have only had a couple of designs throughout their history. They're one of those original 6 iconic, we don't change our jersey type teams. Mm-hmm. Combine that with the fact that they got to pump out a new jersey every 12 months for the outdoor game. How many retro designs do you possibly have?
I don't know. You don't have a lot, I can tell you that.
And we see here literally just the jersey from one of the Winter Classics. I can't remember which one.
It basically is. I thought it was really funny.
The one in Notre Dame?
Maybe.
That might be the one they wore in Notre Dame.
I thought it was really funny to see how the Chicago Steel of the USHL basically have the same jersey, because they tweeted about it. They literally tweeted, hey, this looks familiar. I mean, this is about as generic as it gets. It brings all the colors together. I'll give it a slight boost for being a black primary jersey instead of red, because they already wear red and white. That's fair. Like that. So C-.
Yeah, I'm in the same ballpark. They get a C- from me. It's that generic reusing an old jersey, but they didn't even do anything special with it.
Yep.
All right. This is my favorite jersey in the whole series. Our next choice, this is it. I'm going to spoil it. I don't even care. Yep. This is numero uno, the Colorado Avalanche, paying homage to the Quebec Nordiques with an absolutely gorgeous white jersey with the old Nordiques logo in Arizona colors. It looks, in Avalanche colors. I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. It looks so good. The fleur-de-lis at the bottom in the powder blue, trimmed in maroon. It's so good. And this C is also a powder blue C, trimmed in maroon. And this is the one that got me to notice that the C's were different colors.
Okay.
Because this powder blue looks so good. So good.
So I take it the letter is pretty high.
It's an A+. It is the A+. I don't believe there will be another A+. There might be other A's, but I don't believe there will be other A+. This is the top spot on the list.
Okay. I mentioned how I was a bit of a tough grader on this one. I only had 4 that got the high letter grades. This is one of them. I love everything about this jersey. I love the nod to the Nordiques logo. I love the body as a white jersey instead of the other way around. I think that's great.
This one had to be white. Yep.
The details at the bottom are perfection. I even like that the Nordiques design is in the Avs colors. It actually fits really well.
It looks so good.
So my final comment on this, chef's kiss on this one. A+.
And the numbers are also that powder blue with the maroon on the arms. I imagine the back is going to look the same. I haven't actually seen the back of it. I want 20 of them. Like I don't even like the Avalanche all that much, but I want to go out and buy a Gabe Landeskog or like somebody
Nathan McKinnon.
Jersey.
Nathan McKinnon.
I'm thinking about getting the C.
Oh wow.
You know what? Honestly, the powder blue A would look really, really good.
It doesn't matter. Just
This might be the time to get a Nathan McKinnon jersey. Because man, I've been looking at this jersey for a week and a half because obviously these jerseys came out 2 days after our last show, by the way. I figured I'd mention that. But yeah, I've been looking at this jersey for 2 weeks, just trying to figure out how I can convince myself to buy one.
Yeah, it's perfection.
They're so good. We're moving on to the next one, and it certainly looks like the Columbus Blue Jackets found their jersey in the pile of leftover Washington Capitals ideas.
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
And they just stuck their own
like an
logo
old Caps jersey.
Tell me that doesn't look like the Winter Classic Caps jersey from several years ago with just a Blue Jackets logo strapped on it.
That's pretty funny, actually. I didn't even think about that. I mean,
same color scheme, roughly, like brutal. So I'm sorry. What grade did you give Colorado? Was it an A+?
Yes, I said that.
I didn't know if you went up to an A+.
Yeah, for Colorado, my final comment was I said chef's kiss on this one. It's an A+.
Okay, so
back to Columbus.
What do you think about Columbus, though? Because this is not.
All right, so here's the thing. I like the nod to the old logo because for a team that doesn't have, because here's the thing, for a team that doesn't have a long history, they actually are able to go retro with that, which is cool.
Because that logo hasn't been seen in like several years at this point.
Right.
It is legitimately nostalgic for Columbus fans.
Did you notice how I'm like trying to find something nice to say about every single one before I dive in? Because the rest of it doesn't work for me. The red body is too bold for a franchise that highlights navy as their primary color,
and the logo just fades into it.
This could use a piping on the shoulder to separate the red and the white.
Blue piping would look really good there.
The stars on the sleeve are a nice touch as a detail, so a little bit of points added back to it, but overall not even close to my favorite.
It still just looks like a Capitals jersey.
It's a C.
Yeah. They could have been really clever.
Okay.
And made the jersey look like a blue jacket.
Oh, that's kind of interesting. I like
that.
Right.
You want to talk about retro? Let's talk Revolutionary War retro.
That's real, very retro.
But I can't give the NHL that much credit. They wouldn't give that.
Of course. What was your letter for that one?
Yeah, it's sorry. Would you give it? Did you give it?
I gave it a C.
See, you were too nice. This is down. This is probably in the D category.
Okay.
Me. This is not a good jersey.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. I don't get so nice for a little while.
Okay.
Here.
Well, next we have the jersey that disappeared. The Dallas Stars jersey is basically just the normal Dallas Stars jersey, but they took all the colors minus green and made them silver.
Okay. Do you want to go first on this one or should I?
I'll go first here. This is they're throwing back to the Mike Madonna. Like we talked about this a little bit, right? We talked about that late 90s Dallas Stars team and that really cool black and that really cool black jersey. They decided to take all the cool parts away from it and make it just white and boring and trimmed in silver. And this is a D+ for me. What do you think?
Okay, so when we talked about 90s jerseys during the summer, this design was number 2 on my list.
Yeah, it was high on your list.
Okay, I love this design of the jersey.
Really?
I love, the design itself, what they're going for.
Okay.
I love this design.
Right.
Because that's the jersey. Like we were talking about this, we ran through ideas and I even said, this is the design I hope they go with.
Wanted, right?
This is what I want them to bring back. So I want to like this jersey so much.
So your expectations are high here.
And that's all that I like about this jersey. That and the revival of the old logo.
Dagger.
That's it. Other than that, where I'm going to start. This is going to start sounding like a Gordon Ramsay special at some point in time here. Where's the color? It's bland,
bro,
boring. It lacks pop. You literally went from possibly one of the most obnoxious uniforms we will see with the neon green on black.
Right.
That they unveiled.
Hey,
and
you know what jersey is really going to pop on a white sheet of ice?
And now you're going to have
white and silver jersey.
Right. You went white on white. That's terrible.
We're a hockey team. We went white on white on white ice.
Yeah. D.
Okay.
Terrible.
And speaking of teams that went white on white ice, we're going to follow that up with the Detroit Red Wings.
Yeah.
Because their jersey is, again, it's just a road Detroit Red Wings jersey, but they took the little red stripes on the arms and the red stripe along the bottom and they turned them silver. That's literally all they did. It's not even cute for like a silver anniversary of anything. It's just lazy.
Okay, so let me explain my grade a little bit with this. It's low. Don't get me wrong.
I'm sorry. And the NHL.com listing doesn't even call it silver. The striping is gray.
Yeah, jeez.
It's not even flashy gray, also known as silver.
So here's my thing with this, and you kind of tied to it with Chicago a little bit, or not? Yeah, it's Chicago. Yeah. I think it was how much can you change an original 6 classic, right?
That hasn't changed much.
So here's the thing. Yeah. I feel bad for Detroit because aside from rolling out what they already have, there's not much that they could do.
Right.
They really haven't stretched that boundary.
They don't even have
much.
Like a candy cane jersey like that.
Right. They don't even have an alternate that you can say, let's play with this, right?
Canadians have.
Right. So there's not much that they could do. It's super plain, and I almost can't even spot the gray and silver stripe or whatever color you want to call them stripes. Just, you
won't be able to see them on the ice.
It's unfortunate because it's almost like it's unfortunate they have to take part in this initiative that the league is doing because it's the way it is.
Right. Does it really have to be every team?
Hopefully it's just a year-long thing. Then stick to the classic. It's a D.
I agree. And I'm in the same ballpark. I'll give it a D also. It's just it's not doing much for anybody, I don't think.
Right.
Although it will make jersey names nice and easy to read because it's just a white sheet with red lettering on it.
Yeah.
Next up, we have the Edmonton Oilers. You can go first on this one.
All right.
I got something to say here, but you can go first on this one.
Oh, man. So it's going to be different than what I have to say, probably.
Maybe.
Okay. I'll just come right out with it. This is sharp. I like this. I know people wanted the oil drop logo, but I mean, man, this is a clean design. It's a really clean design. I love the Gretzky era Oilers jerseys too. And the lighter blue is a really nice touch on this. They didn't have a lot that they could do to put a twist on it. So I'll say A-, but I'm a fan of this.
Yeah, we're not going to differ as much as maybe you thought. I also think this jersey is super duper clean. I think the blue pinstripe at the shoulders, like the blue line separating the shoulders, is super duper clean. I think this is one of your better examples of the colored C, like that orange C looks really, really good with the rest of the jersey. I think the fact that they made it orange is a huge deal. They could have made it blue and it would have faded and it just looks black, whatever. The fact that they made it orange, I think, looks really good.
Yeah.
The logo looks almost a little bit translucent, if that makes sense. It almost looks a little shiny. It's got a little bit of shimmer on it, almost like it's been polished.
Maybe. Yeah. I can see what you're talking about.
And I think it looks really, really good as a whole.
Yeah.
Connor McDavid's going to look real fast skating in one of those things.
And that's why, like I said, it's the Gretzky era style jersey, which I like. Honestly, there's not many teams that can say this about the reverse retro jersey that they came out with. They possibly could turn this into their primary road jersey.
I think they definitely could.
They could. Like, that's how clean and on point with this design.
They probably won't, because the NHL won't let them continue with the colored letters, I'm sure, because the NHL doesn't allow anything fun. But something similar, I'm sure, could definitely go through. I can't give this one too high a grade because it is still just kind of an Oilers jersey. Like, it doesn't change a ton. But they do it really well, and I'm going to give them a B- for it.
Okay.
Like, it gets
a B- is high.
For me, I haven't given out many B's, and I think I've only given out one A.
Okay, that's fair.
That'll change as we move on a little further.
I mean, because me giving that an A- to that puts it in my top 5.
I know. The Florida Panthers are next here.
Okay.
Is this different literally at all from the jersey that they started their franchise with?
Not really, but it's sharp and I like it. I know it feels like fine. I know it, and I even wrote this down as one of my notes. Like, I have written down carbon copy of what they had with a question mark in my notes.
For whatever reason, all the Florida Panthers jerseys look the same.
Yeah, I mean,
that blue and that gold and that red. It doesn't really matter what configuration they're in, it kind of just looks like the Captain Marvel uniform.
Yeah, and well, that's why I said I know it looks like a carbon copy of what they had, but that's why I like it actually.
Yeah.
I feel like I already know this jersey. I know this Panther. I know the colors. I can't wait to see it on the ice. I think
that makes a lot of sense. If you're a Florida Panthers fan, this jersey feels like it slots into your lineup of jerseys.
This is like coming home. That's why I said for me it's a B+. I like it.
I'll go C+ because they're doing we're bringing back an old jersey thing, but they did it well, so I'll give them a C+ for it.
Okay.
Moving on, we have one of the examples of here's an old school jersey, basically. But the LA Kings did something super, super clean with their design that I wanted to talk about.
Okay. I'll let you go then.
They take the 60s and 70s colors, right? They take that purple and gold Marcel Dion, you're talking old school Kings, and then they put the Gretzky 90s era Snoop Dogg logo on the front. And man, that looks good. That looks really good, dude. It like I said, it blends 60s, 70s, and 90s. When I hear reverse retro, this is what I want. You didn't just take an old jersey and repurpose it. You took two old jerseys, you stuck them together, you made it look really dope. You got the yellow C there. I love the big, heavy yellow band on the elbows. The fact that it's not stripes, the fact that it's a big, heavy band. This is an A for me. Not an A+, but I'll give it an A. It's a great jersey.
Okay. I think this is my favorite design for the Kings jerseys, that overall 90s era thing. I'm a huge fan of the design of the silver and black jerseys from the 90s. Love the logo.
This is my favorite Kings jersey I've ever seen.
Yeah, but there's also a charm to the purple and gold here. That's what really makes this spectacular to me. Yeah. If you love this is everything that you love about really, really retro jerseys, but it's also a nod to the 90s Gretzky era uniforms too. I went A+ on this one. I think they nailed it 1,000%.
The only reason they're not getting an A+ is because I only have one A+ allotted, and it's Colorado.
That's fine.
But this Kings jersey is in that upper tier for me. I would consider buying one for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
The next is another jersey that I'm a very big fan of. I mentioned earlier that a team took their current logo and put the retro colors on it. This is just a Minnesota Wild jersey, but in North Stars colors, green, yellow, white. Oh man, I wish there was any player on the Minnesota Wild that was worth buying a jersey for right now. Oh man, this jersey is clean.
Yes,
this is a fashion statement jersey. You talked about it earlier. You don't even have to be a fan. I could see people wearing this jersey, never watching hockey. This is a clean jersey, and this is an A- for me.
Okay. I love this one. In fact, I would like to make the motion that the Minnesota Wild should change their color scheme to this and keep the logo.
Why do you need midnight green and red, dude?
Right.
Just go green and yellow.
Green, the red and green were fine, but the Minnesota North Stars colors on this jersey and this logo work for me 1,000%. I really like it. I'm also going A-.
And for the first time in history, I can look at the Minnesota Wild logo and actually know what it is. Because it doesn't look like the bear with the green and the red and the blah blah blah, but I look at it here and I go, yeah, I could see a bear there. If you told me there was a bear there, I'd buy it.
I really like this one too. As a matter of fact, you said who would you? Well, I guess you can't do this because you didn't play with the team in that logo. But I was gonna say like the Modano North Stars era. Like you could.
I don't care. I'll buy this jersey. Put a 9 in Modano on it. It's fine.
Doesn't he work for them now?
I don't know. Probably.
I thought he did.
He's a Minnesota boy.
Yeah. No, he's Michigan.
Yeah, same difference. They're all the same.
He played early on in Minnesota.
Right. So the next jersey. I want you to go first here. We have another original 6 jersey in the Montreal Canadiens here. What do you think about this one?
Okay. To see a blue Montreal jersey is weird. Let's just start there.
It's jarring.
But when you don't have a lot to work with in terms of color scheme and design,
another logo that hasn't changed a whole lot in 130 years.
You don't have a lot to work with in terms of color scheme or design or how to put a twist on it. This is actually really good in terms of the effort that you have to make to even change anything. So it's an admirable effort. It honors the integrity of the clean design of the Montreal uniform.
Right.
The blue is a twist. it's actually kind of sharp to me. I gave it a B+.
I agree. I think you take an original 6 jersey and basically just color flip it, right? Instead of the red jersey with the blue stripe, it's the blue jersey with the red stripe. And it shouldn't work, but by God, it works phenomenally. This jersey. And like, I was worried that the logo would look a little weird inside the red stripe, but it just fits really well. It looks good. And Montreal, man, I don't know what they did. I don't know why I love their logo and their jersey so much, but this jersey just looks so clean. Yeah. It looks really, this is a really good fan jersey. I don't know how it's going to look on the ice. If they wear blue pants with it, it's over. But like if they have a normal whatever, this is a jersey that fans should be wearing for decades. Like this is a really good fan design. It's a great way to stand out in the Bell Center because it's going to be a sea of red and you got that blue. Like it's going to look really good.
This is another one of those that you sit there and you go candidate for alternate down the road. Possibly this is really nice.
They should immediately implement this as their 3rd jersey just forever.
All right. Like this is pretty cool.
Yep. We both, sorry, did you give it a grade?
Yeah, I said B+.
Okay. I don't think I said my grade. It's going to get into the A territory for me. I think it's an A-.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. It's B+, A-. I'm going to go A- here.
Yeah. I didn't want to go that high with it because of the fact that to me, at that point in time, we're talking that would instantly make it one of my top 5. I don't know if it's a top 5.
Well, we talked about my A's are a little more,
but it was close. I mean, it was close. Yeah, it's probably, if I'm being honest, it's probably maybe 7th on my list if I was being technical about it.
Yeah. Man. So next we have the Nashville Predators.
Oh boy.
And the Nashville Predators have had a couple of different logos in their franchise history.
Mm-hmm.
And a couple that fans were clamoring for and a couple that fans were clamoring to stay away from. And instead, the Nashville Predators decided to do nothing and make basically their 2007 away jersey and just put it out on the stand here. There's really not much going on here. I'm not a huge fan. They brought out an old jersey and didn't do a great job with it. I'm going C-.
Okay. I don't mind the current Preds uniforms. I mean, I've mentioned that they're a team I like watching and their uniforms are fine to me. I'd be prepared to actually buy one of those jerseys in that spot because I do like them, but they're so gold and there's nothing that really breaks it up. So I actually like the navy piping with the white shoulders because it breaks up the color. It gives it a little bit more balance. Otherwise, it's not flooring me as a jersey. So it's good. I gave it a B-.
Okay. I was a little less impressed with it.
I think because of the fact that I like the actual original jersey that they're going off of or what they're going off of. I did see a suggestion. I forget where I saw it, but someone said they should have gone back to the ones they originated with that had the navy body. That would have been kind of cool. That's probably a better choice. I actually like what I like about the jersey is not the retro angle to it. More like I said, I think that it actually breaks up the color because it's just the regular jersey right now is just a solid gold jersey with maybe a little bit of navy accent.
Yeah,
like, this breaks it up a little more.
I would have liked to see an update on what the navy jersey would look like today.
Yeah, that would have been cool.
Like that navy and gray, you know the one I'm talking about.
Yeah, the original.
Moving along, we have the New Jersey Devils, and the New Jersey Devils have brought their green back. This time as a primary color. Mm-hmm. It was a secondary for them for a long time. It was, an accent color in jerseys and stuff. For the first time in their history, the New Jersey Devils now have a primarily green jersey.
Mm-hmm.
And so go into Photoshop, load up the jersey, and then just click the little green paint can and click, and the whole poop, there it is. And that's the jersey, essentially. And it's fine. It's fine. What do you have to say about it?
I've seen this ranked really high on some lists. I don't mind the green in the color scheme. This is just too much green for me. I actually really like the white version of this jersey that they've used already.
Yeah.
It just feels like the green really overpowers it. So that for me, it just put it lower than some of the others on here. It's still a solid B for me because of the fact that design is still, like you said, it does look like something that you could go in Photoshop, which to me means a clean design because it's that easy to change the colors.
Sure.
But the green, just too much green for me for the New Jersey Devils that I'm used to the black and red and white, like just,
It changes things up but not in a way that you're excited about. Kind of just in a, oh, yeah. All right. It is a D+ for me. It's not bottom of the barrel, but it's certainly not very good. It's a lot of green, and it doesn't. I'm looking for these jerseys to kind of do something cool.
Okay, yeah, that's fair.
If I can do it in 30 seconds on Photoshop, it's not that cool. There's nothing fundamentally different. You kind of just copy pasted a different color onto the jersey.
Right.
And for me, that loses a lot of points. Speaking of teams that didn't change very much, they just changed the color of the jersey a little bit. We have the lowest effort submission into our entire contest here. The New York Islanders darkened their jersey about 2 shades and called it a day.
Pretty much.
I can't even grade it. It doesn't get a C. It doesn't get an F. It gets an incomplete.
Okay.
This is what teachers mean when they give an incomplete out. You did not do the assignment. You didn't do it.
I can grade it. Okay. This is boring. This is virtually the same as the current jersey, but darker. And look, I know they had limited options to work with to an extent, but hell, bring back the fisherman. Bring back the fisherman, which I don't even like before rolling this out. It's a D.
Even if you want to bring back the crappy all black jersey, do something, man.
Right.
Something.
No, that's what I mean. Like I'm saying, what I meant with limited options is that you have limited options of how to play with the original design.
Right.
But so at that point, bring back the fisherman. I don't even like the fisherman jersey, but I would take the fisherman over this.
You know what they could have done, which would have been a little tiny bit more effort, but still nothing. Instead of making it a little bit darker blue, just make it black, right? You pay homage to the black jersey, but you still have your current logo. At least you're participating. At least you're trying. You took this and turned it from navy to darker navy. That's all you did. This is definitely the jersey that a Lou Lamoriello run team puts out.
Okay.
This is a Lou Lamoriello reverse retro jersey because they didn't change. They changed as little as possible.
Right.
Like I said, I literally cannot grade it. It's an incomplete for me. Did you give it an F or?
I gave it a D.
Okay.
But D is the lowest that I went with, and
okay.
And basically, let's put it this way: there's a small handful that got that kind of grade, and let's put it like if Detroit didn't have even more limited options than that, then it probably would rank below stuff like that. But there's a couple of them that are worse than that effort.
Okay. See, for me, there's really not much for me.
Not many, but there's this is bottom. I only gave D's to 4 teams. That's one of them. So you're really at the bottom of the list there. If we're talking that,
now moving across into Manhattan here. What do you think of the Rangers jersey?
I love the logo choice. It instantly makes me think 90s. Makes me think of Mike Richter.
Makes me think of Mike Richter. Yep.
It's a great choice.
Yep.
The rest of it lacks a little bit of design though. Like it needs more color to me. The navy is a perfect choice for the body, but to just have 2 tiny stripes on each arm and that's it, you really had to, you had the chance to go bolder than that. I think like you had this, like I'm looking at it and
a lot of teams took the easy way out here.
Yeah. But like, as I'm saying, I'm looking at it and I go, there's just 2 stripes on the sleeve. That's it. That's all that you could do aside from a navy body. Like play with it a little bit more than that. Right. So I gave it a B-. I gave it a B- because I do like the logo. I do like the navy color. Like everything about that is cool. It makes me think of that 90s era. And then the rest of it just is plain.
Yeah, I agree with pretty much everything you said. The nostalgia on the logo is enough for me to drive it up to a normal B.
Okay.
But it's close enough that I completely get that logo is by far my favorite Rangers logo. Moving on. Ottawa Senators. Now, this is a team. This is the first jersey they've put out since they announced that their logo was going back to the flat Senator. Is that correct?
No, they put out their regulars too. They have.
Oh, you're right. I'm sorry, but this looks like a good jersey. This to me feels like, again, we're talking about the Ottawa Senators, a team that doesn't have quite as much history as some of the other teams on this list. It reminds me of the Flyers Stadium Series jerseys from a couple of years ago, the black ones. but just color swapped, and they get the red instead. They got kind of the big numbers on the arms and like the big color. In this case, a really nice red color.
Yeah, I mean, it's not outstanding, but it showcases the 2D logo, which I like. I like the red primary color
really
there.
Pops.
Yeah, I like the red primary there. Minimal on the striping, not a lot of activity. I don't mind that either. It's a good jersey. It's a B- for me.
I dig this jersey a lot. It's a B+ for me too. Yeah. We decided already that we're going to skip over the Flyers because we talked about them.
We already talked about the Flyers. Yes.
So moving on, we have the Pittsburgh Penguins, and this is a throwback to the early 90s back-to-back cup type team. The black jersey with Pittsburgh down the, across down the front. Instead, it's white with yellow lettering Pittsburgh. I think that this design scheme, the write your name across the chest thing, is probably the laziest jersey convention in sports, especially when it's just your city name and it's just from shoulder across down to hip. It's not a design. You wrote a name and took up as much space as humanly possible to fill the jersey. That being said, it looks fine. It just doesn't really have a logo. So for me, that loses points. And also it's the Penguins. So, there's that.
I knew there was going to be a shot somewhere in there.
I'm going to go with a D+ here.
Okay.
But it's mostly out of laziness. Like I said,
okay,
you're not really doing much here. Not much design.
Yeah, it's fine. I'm not the biggest fan of the diagonal letter thing either going down the jersey. I think they could have cashed in big time on Robo Penguin here.
100%. Yeah.
But alas, this is what we get. It's average at best. I gave it a C.
Yeah, that's about right. Like I said, it's not really offensive. I just dinged it more than, maybe some people did just because it's supremely boring.
Nope, that's fine.
Speaking of supremely boring, we have a gray jersey. Yep, the San Jose Sharks went with gray. To me, this looks like what a youth jersey looks like.
I like that.
Like, how they always look a little bit different?
Yeah.
And they look a little childish. This looks a little childish. It looks like a youth jersey.
Oh man, that's good.
That being said, it's not terrible. It's
not
a nice little jersey.
Right.
But I want my kid's high school team to wear it. I don't want my pro team to wear it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Love the original logo. Love the font. Hate the color. The gray is just not a good choice. And they had a lot of directions they could go with teal and black and white too. It just doesn't pop like it could have. So I gave it a C.
Yeah, I agree. I'm going to ding it a little bit more just because it's got that youth look. Like I said, I'm going to go C-. It's still not bad.
Okay.
Man, there's some hot takes about this St. Louis Blues jersey that we're about to talk about next. Would you like to go first?
I can.
Okay.
All right. So here's
curious to hear what you have to say here.
All right. So I really like the design of this jersey, and when they brought back the blue version, I was thrilled. I think it looks so cool.
Yeah.
Like that it looks so cool. I don't know how to feel about the red body. It's not that it doesn't work. It's
your team name is the Blues.
Exactly. Well, it doesn't feel like a primary color for the Blues. Like it's not that it doesn't work on the jersey. It just, so like aesthetically, it's a good looking jersey. I just don't associate that color with the team. So it kind of docks points for me in that sense. Like it's just not like it's clean looking jersey. The design's great. I just don't like, it's kind of funny to say the Blues are wearing red.
What's
you know
the
what
grade?
I mean? B-.
Oh, okay. So you don't hate it you don't dislike it that much.
No, I don't dislike it that much.
I think this jersey is freaking awesome.
Okay.
This is an A- jersey for me.
Wow. Okay.
And that puts it in high territory for me, right? I'm not giving out a ton of A's here.
No, you're not.
This, to me, this is what I want at a reverse retro.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah. You mentioned it with the other one too.
They did something here. They went out, they engineered this, they designed this jersey. They paid homage really, really well. I love the yellow stripes, the thin yellow stripes above the thicker yellow stripe on the body. Like it looks so good. It looks so fantastic. I think this is the red. I love the red and the contrast. Sorry. I love this jersey, and there's just so much going on because it's a very busy jersey.
It is a very busy jersey. I will give you that.
There's so much going on that I can't even put into thoughts how I want to say this, but the red makes the blue pop, right? The Blues logo pops really hard out of that red field, more so than I think it pops out of the blue field. If anything, I think it draws attention to the logo.
Get your Braden Shen jersey. Here we go. Now I can see you being more of a Tarasenko type.
No, see, I'd probably go Parayko. Right.
Oh, okay. Parayko's a good choice.
I like Parayko.
Yeah, you can go with the new guy. You can go Torrey Krug.
I could go Torrey Krug. You know what? Torrey Krug's going to look great in this jersey. I'm not going to lie. Although it is going to be weird seeing him in not black and gold.
Yeah. For sure.
Either way, I like the St. Louis Blues jersey a lot. I went A- on them.
Literally not black and gold now.
No.
You know.
Next, we have the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Yes.
Yeah, that is the 2004 Tampa Bay Lightning jersey, isn't it?
It kind of is.
Is there any different? It doesn't have the black piping. Is that the only difference?
I don't know. I mean, I actually like this one a lot. I know people don't love this logo or don't love the font. I always did.
I'm gonna ding it for being boring, but I completely get rid of it.
But I always did. I thought it was unique. I don't mind seeing this one a handful of times next season. It's not okay. So it's not the same jersey. Okay, I know what you're like now that I'm thinking about it. It's not the same jersey because the body's blue.
Okay.
It was black.
Oh, previously. You're right.
So that's what makes it different. So that's the nod to the current colors with the previous design.
The retro in there, right?
So I gave it a B+. I don't mind seeing it.
Okay. Listen, it's not offensive. It's a nice sharp jersey. To me, it suffers a little bit too much from looking like an old jersey, but it still does it on the good side of that, and I'll go C+ on it.
Okay.
I think it's definitely a solid jersey. I wouldn't necessarily buy one, but I wouldn't make fun of somebody else for wearing one. Also, the logo looks a little bit too big.
I think that's actually homage to the way these jerseys were. Because I remember when you used to have these jerseys, the logos were massive. Now I think they make them smaller. Like the last jersey that I got, I can remember going boy, it doesn't feel like I used to remember feeling like I was swimming in the logo itself because it was so big across the chest. And you're like,
just for whatever reason, this looks like it takes up a lot of his torso.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I'd have to see how it looks on one of these athletes too.
Yeah, and this all changes when they have pads on and under the lights and
sure,
exactly. Et cetera. But either way, like I said, it's not offensive, but I'm not in love with it. And speaking of fairly boring blue and white jerseys,
we got five. We got five. By the way, we have 5 more to go. So we're getting toward the end.
We're in the home stretch here. But speaking of boring blue and white jerseys, we're going to transition it over to the Toronto Maple Leafs. And listen, I've heard Toronto Maple Leafs fans tell you this is a boring blue and white jersey. It looks a lot like the Flyers home jersey, but in blue for the Leafs.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's kind of the same style. It's that kind of 70s, big thick armband, one big thing around the waist, one big stripe at the bottom.
Yep.
Big logo in the center. It's a retro jersey. The Leafs are another one of those teams that don't have a ton of logos to choose from, unless you're counting how many spikes are on the Leaf, because I know people care about that sort of thing. But there's not a ton of different logos to choose from. It's fine. It's not super offensive. I'm going C- on it.
Okay. I am going to keep this one brief, and we'll move on to something we have more to talk about. The Toronto Maple Leafs have some classic uniforms in the sense that they have a design that's relatively unchanged. This is boring to me. It's a boring logo, boring design, and I don't see any appeal to it. It gets a D.
Okay. I completely get that, and you're kind of giving it the same, you're giving it the same grade for the same reasons that I am. I just kind of gave it a little bit higher because I still just think it's sharp. The blue and the white, there's something clean about only having two colors.
Sharp. The logo doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever on this jersey. I think they could have chosen a couple different options besides this one. And then, like I said, the design being as boring as it is, I think the reason I said boring for both is because of the fact that it almost looks like the two don't even match. No. Like the logo doesn't belong on that particular design of the jersey. So it feels like you're forcing something here, and it feels really weird.
I agree. Something about it feels awkward.
Right. And it's funny because I think we need to talk, we've talked about jerseys that we said, which one would you buy with said current player? And we said, okay, the Colorado Quebec Nordique style, you go for a Nathan McKinnon at this time, maybe, or something like that. And you think about guys like we said, the Edmonton one looks clean. So you think of McDavid. This is not for a team that has stars, that has Austin Matthews, a guy who you could say buy his jersey.
Right.
I'm not thinking about buying that jersey. You know what I mean?
I agree.
I feel like these teams that have potential star players or have really good players who we know are tops in the league, and like the Pittsburgh one, like we talked about, was average, but Crosby, it's okay. And we're going to get to another guy who's probably selling a lot of jerseys. He's just toward the end because of alphabetical order, Yeah,
we'll get there.
Yeah. Those are like, you really would like to see all of the teams that have one of those top players,
get a really
stars,
good jersey.
Get a really good jersey that you feel like could sell. And this is an example of one that just doesn't work in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, I can't see people going around with an Austin Matthews jersey like this.
You know what? That's fair. And it's funny that you say that, because I mentioned that it looks like the Flyers home jersey from a couple of years ago. And I remember I was actually at the first home game where those jerseys were in play, when they went back to, kind of the classic old school Flyers home jersey. And I remember kind of thinking the similar things about them at the time. Like, man, these aren't star jerseys. They feel very from the 60s, 70s, 80s, when players had jobs and did other things and just happened to show up and play hockey.
I mean, they are and they're not, because like there's nothing wrong with giving a nod to an era when you have guys who like that. Like, so when the Flyers brought back those jerseys, you're thinking of Bobby Clark and Bill Barber and Bernie Parent, and you're thinking of guys like that. So I get that.
Yeah, but I don't think of them for their star presence, for their hockey. I think of them for their grit and their heart and their blah, blah, blah.
Sure, I guess. I mean, they were star players though, too. Right. So,
but in terms of, they don't look very slick. How about that? They don't look flashy.
Yeah, I don't think they look slick. It's,
they're fine.
Yeah, they're fine.
Moving on. This is a jersey. The next jersey here might be the most controversial jersey on this list. Because we have only seen gradient on an NHL jersey, I believe, 2 times before this.
Yeah, I believe so. Well, I'd have to go check, but I know there's 2 examples that I know that come to mind. Yes.
It's the Pittsburgh Penguins, the blue and the yellow.
Robo Penguin.
And then there was one more with the LA Kings used gradient on the Burger King jersey. And I believe those are the only other examples before we get to the retro reveal jersey for the Vancouver Canucks. Now, if you haven't seen this jersey, this one I will describe. I know I said I wasn't going to describe them, but this one I think is worth it. You have green shoulders across the top. The body starts blue, and then right under the logo, gradients to green.
Yeah.
How do you feel about this jersey?
I actually kind of like the gradient here, but here's the thing. Did you see the meme that was going around, or did you see the comparison to something in particular, to an object we might see? I don't think so. Okay. Someone put out that it was basically the same color scheme as the original Sprite can.
That's funny. That's really funny.
Okay. And once you see that, you can't unsee it.
Well, listen, on that note, I do also have to mention, we talked about the Minnesota Wild jersey earlier, and the fact that it's a Minnesota Wild jersey with Minnesota North Stars colors.
Yeah.
Somebody pointed out that North Stars colors are very, very similar to Subway sandwich colors.
Oh,
and now you'll go and look at that jersey, picture a Subway S on it. You'll never be able to unsay it.
Yeah, you're right. So look, they could have done a lot. They could have done a play on a lot of things with designs over the years.
They could have done a lot of things. They have the rink, they have the V, they have a lot of
the
stuff.
Skate. Why they opted for this one, I'm not really sure. I think the low hanging fruit for this was to apply the blue and teal colors. The low hanging fruit was the blue and teal colors on the jersey they've already been using with the Skate logo. Might have been a cool way to go, and it might have been better.
I agree.
Because then you're using the current team colors with a jersey that people recognize as retro. You just brought it back as retro, so it's not a culture shock for the design.
I would have liked to see them go back to the old school deep V and put that in blue and teal. I think
that would have been interesting. Cool. I don't love that jersey though, so I can understand. That's why I picked the one with the Skate logo.
I love it because it's so terrible. It's one of those for me.
Yeah. But I gave it a C. It's middle of the pack for me, or maybe lower end of the middle of the pack.
Yeah, I have this down. Like, this is down hanging out with the Flyers jersey for me. This is like a D-.
Actually, now that I look at not my list, but as I look at the letters, I have just in the B category alone, like B plus, B or B minus, I have 14 jerseys right there. So
yeah.
So
you
this is
graded a little
definitely
higher than
no.
me,
So
I
this
would
is
say.
definitely lower half of the league, and I would probably sit there and say that of the other ones I've given a C2 so far, which I've already gone through 5 of the 6 that I gave a C2. You know, I'd say Pittsburgh and even San Jose probably are a little higher than this if you had to pick among the ones I gave
agree.
that grade to. Like just because it's not like I don't hate it. I don't hate those as much as I hate that one. Let's just say that. You know what I mean?
But you know, I've also heard that these are very popular on the ground in Vancouver, and if that's the case, then good for them. If that fan
good for
base
them is
loves
right.
it,
And like I said, I don't think the
for you.
gradient. I don't think the gradient is the problem here. It's an interesting choice. I didn't hate it. I actually think it probably looks it looks less contrasting when you take the blue and go to teal and green than you do to the maroon that they used to have on the gradient when it was actually the real design that they started with.
right.
So I don't think you're out like it's outrageous. I just think that there was options. That's what I think the problem is that there was options. You have a lot of different designs and logos you can choose. Yeah, you have a lot of different designs and logos you could choose, and I think that that's the problem.
When there's better things you could have done, it's disappointing when you fall this far short.
Yeah.
Moving on, we talked about teams that logos haven't changed much.
Yeah.
How about a team that's literally only had one logo and has only been in existence for a couple of years here? I'm talking, of course, about the Vegas Golden Knights.
Yeah.
And the Vegas Golden Knights, if you haven't seen, have decided to make red a primary color for this jersey.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. They've also used is that their secondary logo or their tertiary logo?
That is
it's one of their minor logos.
It's a secondary, I believe.
Yeah, and they've put one of their minor logos in the front, and it's the swords crossing with the kind of the Star of Bethlehem looking star on top of it, if you know what I'm talking about.
When you put it that way, yeah. Jeez.
Well, yeah, that's what it's supposed to be, right? How can it not be?
I don't know.
And then at the bottom, they do have some gray and gold and black trim. What do you think of this jersey?
Okay, so this should have been a layup for Vegas, and I think they dropped the ball. Here's the thing. The jersey itself looks cool. I like the primary red because red has always been a portion of the design.
It's always been
I like the primary. I like the primary red. I like the actual take a couple things away from it.
I love the primary red, by the way. Yeah.
I like the design. I like it all. The logo's terrible. The secondary logo, cool as it may be on the shoulder, doesn't belong on the front of the jersey.
Yeah, it's a secondary logo.
Right. Honestly, for a team that doesn't have retro jerseys, so they're limited in what they can do for something like this. If they would have just used the traditional primary logo and threw it on the front of a red primary jersey with the rest of the design the way it is, they would have hit it out of the park, and it would have been, for a team that doesn't even have a retro. And I probably would have said at that point in time, if that's the way it was, the regular primary logo we already know on a red jersey, I probably would have given this at least a B, maybe a B plus, and put it top 10 worthy.
Yeah.
This gets a C minus because you picked the wrong logo.
Yeah, I definitely hear what you're saying, right? It's not the best logo. It feels very ECHL. It feels very minor league.
This is a good jersey for your AHL team that you just got.
Exactly. If the Henderson Silver Knights wear this one night, you feel good about it. I think the logo's not great. We talked about that. I still think the rest of the jersey is good enough to get this into my A- territory.
Really? Okay.
I really, really like this jersey.
He's buying an Alex Pietrangelo jersey now.
It won't be Alex Pietrangelo.
Oh, okay.
Listen, see, the problem with Vegas is you can't buy anybody's jerseys because everyone's on the trade block, right? They're talking about trading Max Pacioretty. Like nobody's safe. And if you're safe in Vegas, you're only safe in Vegas for about 12 months.
Cody Glass. There you go. There's a safe guy, I think.
Maybe Robin Lehner.
Robin Lehner got 5 years.
Robin Lehner is going to look great wearing this jersey. This is going to look great on a goalie.
Cool.
On a goalie? Come on.
Yeah, this will probably be pretty cool. I'll give you that. Like I said, I just don't like the logo choice. They would have picked the regular primary logo. It's a winner. This is an
winner. A- for me, and I'm trying to convince myself to keep it there and not go to A.
Okay,
it's that good.
Let me add one more thing too, because I even said if they would have picked the right logo, I would have given it probably maybe, like I said, a B or B plus. I'm docking them points, unfortunately, as a franchise because when you only have 3 years of existence,
they could have even put a new logo on this.
Well, I guess they could have. Yeah, I guess they could have. But like what I'm saying is that when you only have that much, like it's hard to call yourself retro like that. Like you almost wonder, like,
Their
and I know
backs were up against the wall from the jump.
And I know, I know Adidas wasn't in control at this time to be able to do this. But if you had one season before Vegas was in the league that you could have done this initiative so that this way the 30 teams that are there who have longer histories, who have 15 years to go off of, can go, yes, we have a jersey that actually qualifies as retro.
Right.
Or something we can do that qualifies as retro, like Minnesota and Columbus actually had an old logo to go to. Minnesota went back to the previous Minnesota team roots,
colors, right.
Which makes sense. Like, you just don't have anything else. Like Vegas just doesn't have anything else to go to. It's not like they're in a city that previously had a hockey team. It's not like it's an Atlanta team that you said, oh, let's do Thrasher colors on our new design. You know what I mean? Like that would have made so much more sense if they had that to go off of. They just had nothing to go off of. Right. So it's almost like, it's really funny because they just gave us a third jersey with the gold and now it's almost like they're giving us a fourth jersey.
Yeah.
Or they could have.
Yeah. And that being said, should Vegas have waited and put their gold jersey out as part of this release?
I don't know. I mean, I yes and no, because here's the thing. Yes, because it would have looked just as cool. Like I think it would have actually fit fine.
Right. Like if this jersey, instead of the red one with the secondary logo on it, if this is the gold one that they put out a couple of weeks ago, what grade are you giving it then?
The gold looked fine. You know, it looked really good. I probably would have given it a
B minus, B plus. Okay.
Yeah. But the reason I say no is because of the fact that I don't like, obviously it was very clear that the NHL and Adidas and they had people like the press release had this whole thing about how like for like a year, they studied all the jerseys of the previous. That's why I made my theory about the Flyers jersey, by the way, was because you're looking for a twist on a classic and you're going, what can I change about this jersey that twists it up, but keeps the design maybe or something? You know what I mean? Like, so that's where it comes from. Vegas just doesn't have that. So it's not their fault that they don't have it. And it's not their fault that the league was trying to do something like this to be a little bit creative with it. I just like, it's funny. I can even like, do you know what would look good on the front of this jersey?
Okay.
Possibly the Sabres logo. The Sabres logo they used on the retro jersey with the swords crossed. That bad. You go, okay, remember how we used to we got used to that jersey in red, black, silver, you know, that kind of thing. Vegas has the colors. I mean, maybe take some of the gold away, but the gold's an accent, you know, like I think you've got a perfectly good base design for that Sabres jersey.
So you're saying their retro rewind jersey should have been a Buffalo Sabres jersey, huh?
Well, it should have been the Buffalo Sabres jersey with the logo they used, not the goat head.
Okay.
And you're good, you know?
All right. We're almost out of here. We got two teams left.
Yep.
First up here is the Washington Capitals. What do you think of the OV's new jersey?
I like this era of Washington jerseys. And while I like their current alternate better, the really classic, the caps, the written out capitals across the front with the hockey stick and the logo. Right. I like that better, but this is a really cool way to bring back the Eagle logo and keep that design while keeping the current colors. This is I know there's people who kind of go all over the board on this, but man, I think this is a nice looking jersey. I think Ovi's going to look good in it like he did when he started his career. Yep. I think it looks even better with the current colors, by the way. I say B+.
Yeah. Here's my thing. I'm going to say what everybody says. I want the Capitol building logo as the main logo.
I don't argue that. That's not a bad way to go with it. I like it on the shoulder there too as a nod too. The Eagle takes me somewhere, you know, really back to a new original.
Oh, no, I agree.
And the originals.
I get it, but I wanted.
At least for me, I remember that's what they wore in the 90s. So.
Right. Or at least I wanted some form of that jersey, either the logo or the blue, black, and bronze. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, right. And I mean, here's the thing. I will say that maybe that Capitol logo, like you said, with the building would look good in the current color scheme. The Eagle definitely looks like it works, but it looks better in the navy, the gold stars, you know, that kind of thing. Yes.
Absolutely. That being said, this jersey is still very, very nice. Like,
yes, I like it.
This is another really good like fan jersey. Like,
right. This is what I was talking a lot. This is what I was talking about when I said when you've got a player who you know you can market well, who sells a lot of jerseys for being who he is.
Jersey.
This is your OV jersey right here. Yeah, you can do a lot with this.
This is a jersey that you can do a lot with, like a guy like TJ Oshie. too.
Yeah, possibly. I still think Ovechkin's got the star power here. Sure. John Carlson's probably earning himself a little bit more, too, being, having the season he had and being up there and,
either way,
as one of the top defensemen.
I'm going to give this jersey a B. It's still a very solid jersey.
Fair assessment for sure.
Man, we're really ending on a stinker here, huh? We are ending on possibly the most boring jersey in the entire bunch. The Winnipeg Jets decided that their color scheme was gray, white, and navy blue for this. And when I say gray, I mean a lot of gray.
Yeah.
For me, this is down in the basement. This is a D- along with the Flyers and what else did I put in the basement? Vancouver. This is down there. This is a D-.
Wow.
This is boring. This jersey sucks.
Okay. They got the logo right. Anytime you can use the original Jets logo,
I will give them credit for that. Yeah.
The logo itself actually incorporates the current colors really well, like the lighter blue with the navy blue. Like actually, I
agree.
All that really works. It's the slate gray color that's the primary here. It just doesn't do it for me at all.
And they're going to wear gray pants.
Yeah, maybe.
They're going to wear gray pants and navy socks. That's what they're going to wear with this, and it's terrible.
And here's the thing. I actually look at a lot of other components of this jersey, and I like other parts of this jersey. Like the piping along the sleeve uses those two colors really well. It looks pretty good. But by using the gray, by the way, the numbers are going to look fantastic. Because they're going to have to use those. It's going to be white with a blue outline. Like it's going to look really nice. I just wish they would have done anything but slate gray.
If you put even if you just put like a red circle around the logo, just trim it in red, and then red piping along the shoulder line, this jersey is infinitely better. Just give it a little bit of color.
Yeah.
But it just looks gray and awful. And if I was Dustin Byfuglien, I wouldn't want to play hockey in these either. This is not going to get him back, by the way.
No, I hear you. I mean, I was a little bit more generous than you were. I gave it a C, but it's still not a good one to end on.
This jersey sucks. All right,
we've lost all. We're just not even sugarcoating it anymore.
All right, let's close it out here by give me your top three.
Okay, my top three.
And if you were going to get them, what player would you get? Because I'll go first.
Does it have to be top three like on the list, or is there others that I can sit there and say, you know what, I like it enough that I would buy a certain player?
Give me your top three from the list.
Okay.
And what player you would get on the back of it.
I'm gonna have to think about this then.
I'm gonna start with the Colorado Avalanche, and I don't really care what player, probably Nathan MacKinnon at this point in time, but I'm getting I would get a Colorado Avalanche jersey. That is it's so sweet.
Okay.
I think my second would probably, honestly, man, if the Minnesota Wild had a player worth getting, they would be my second favorite. But literally the inefficacy of the team just trashes the whole jersey. I don't care about that jersey. I'm not going to watch them play at all this year. Like, I'm looking here. Yeah, I honestly, I'd get this LA Kings jersey.
Okay.
I can't figure out who I would get because LA is pretty pathetic too.
Yeah.
You know what? You can get any player from that franchise. It doesn't have to be a current player.
Okay. See, now you're making it much
easier. Let's open it up. That makes it way easier. So for the LA Kings, I'm gonna go Luc Robitaille because I feel like Luc Robitaille would love this jersey. This feels right up his alley for me. I grew up playing as Luc Robitaille in a whole lot of NHL video games, and that's kind of where that all comes for me. So I got Colorado, I got LA, and then, man, getting a Gretzky Oilers jersey would probably look really good with this color scheme.
Okay, so I'm trying to think about it because I'm gonna take this a little bit of a step further from what you just did.
Okay.
Because I'll give 3, and then I'm gonna try to find a current and former player I would get jersey for.
Okay.
Because I don't want to just cop out on the former player thing because the team is like, because unfortunately, at least a handful of the teams here we're talking about, one of them that has the top was a lottery team, had the second overall pick last year. Let's not, get away with it. All right. So I'll start with Colorado at the top of my list. Colorado's the best one. Current player would be Nathan MacKinnon. Former player, give me
Joe Sakic, aren't you?
You know what? It's a tight race because it's either Sakic or Forsberg, but I think a Forsberg would look probably pretty sick in that too.
Tell me Patrick Waugh wouldn't look pretty sick.
Oh, it would look awesome.
That would look dope.
It would look really awesome. So for LA is my number 2 also because I like it's an easy top of the list one.
Man, getting a Patrick Waugh jersey with that, man, that's got some implications to it, right? You got the Nordiques. You get, oh man, I'm thinking back to this Colorado. I'm sorry to cut you off.
No, that's fine.
Thinking about Patrick Waugh wearing this Colorado Nordiques jersey and just, oh, there's something nice about that.
So for LA,
okay. Oh, so we're picking 2 of the same here, huh?
Yeah, we might be picking 2 or 3 of the same, honestly. Like
oh man,
I think we agreed right at the top there. For LA, I would probably pick for former. I'm gonna go different from you. I actually will go Marcel Dion because I think that the color scheme matches his era, which the
logo matches Robitaille's era. Works out
right. But the logo, I don't care about the logo at that point. Give me Marcel Dion in a classic like that for sure. Current player. I'm going to pick somebody who has staying power. So I'll actually give you 2 because I can't decide between them. I'll either pick Anze Kopitar or Drew Doughty.
Yeah. Okay. They're fair. I'm not a fan of either player, but I completely
but somebody
respect.
who is on if you're picking somebody that's somebody who is on the cup team, so you can go, yes, they've got some staying power.
Right.
That'll work, I guess. And then I think I'm with you. I think,
I'm going to change my third one here. I'm going to mix it up here. I'm going to go Montreal and I'm going to get a Carey Price jersey.
Okay. Who's your classic if you're going classic?
I mean, there's so many names to choose from here.
There are
Guy Lafleur.
Ooh, okay, that's actually a good choice. I wasn't thinking that far back. See, I'm thinking somebody who didn't.
PK Subban.
No, see, I'm not picking a former player.
Montreal Canadiens legend PK Subban.
I'm not disagreeing with that, but I'm not picking a former player who still plays in the league. I was gonna for
Max
me,
Pacioretty.
I was gonna say Saku Koivu.
Ooh, that's a good one. Saku Koivu was a big part of growing up here.
So I'm going to throw. I'm going to do, or I'll choose Edmonton.
Okay, you did go Edmonton. Okay.
Yeah, classic. Either go classic Gretzky or this is the time. You know what?
Are we going Gretzky McDavid? Are you just copping out?
No, because you know what? I like Draisaitl a lot too, and Draisaitl would be a good pick for this. I think you could go there too. Edmonton's current roster, kind of like what I just did with LA. You're trying to find somebody that has some staying power, who has some star power to him. There's not many guys who you can say, like, even down to like, they don't have a goalie who's been there for long term. It's like, they don't really have a defenseman who you can latch onto. I mean, Oscar Klefbom was on his way to that possibly, but he, has slipped a little bit from that. So you got to really stick to the forward group. And I think that's where, it's McDavid and it's Draisaitl. So either of them is the current. I wish Minnesota had a current player who we thought was good enough for that.
I wish Minnesota had a current player because I would love to pick up, because I know you'd be picking up Madonna, right? As your classic.
I guess. I mean, like I said, it doesn't completely fit. I mean, if I had to go, man, I mean, who else played for Minnesota that we could say was really, really good? I guess to go with what you were trying to say, I mean, it's a former player who still plays in the league, but you could go Eric Stahl here.
You could go Eric Stahl here, and
it would probably look pretty good. I mean.
You're probably right. Zach Parise, technically an option.
Cool. You go. You know who's for Minnesota who a current player who I wouldn't mind. I would go with Jared Spurgeon.
Okay,
Jared Spurgeon would be a good one to have current.
Minnesota Wild legend Matt Zuccarello.
That's not a bad pick.
There you go. All right, so you know what? I think that's actually going to do it. That is our list. You can let us know what you think the best jerseys are.
Let us know where we're right and where we're wrong.
Where we're right, where we're wrong.
Between.
I want to hear your top 3. Tell us who your top 3 is and what players you would get on them, right? Do the little exercise we just did and figure out who you would get on these jerseys if you were buying them. And you can let us know where and who and what you're doing here on Twitter at YWT Podcast. You can also find the show everywhere: Facebook, Podbean, iTunes, Google Podcast, all that stuff. You can also find us on sportstalkphilly.com. You can find Kevin at Kevin_Durso, at Flyerdelphia. We're at Sports Talk PHL everywhere. They put an article out for us every Monday after we record. So make sure to go follow us over at sportstalkphilly.com and click on all of Kevin's articles over there too. He's putting articles out all the time.
As much as I can right now anyway.
Yep, literally all the time. I heard you promise that you're doing 5 a week. What's that?
No, I can give you 5 a week when we're actually in season though. You know that.
No, I know.
I did just do
5 a night. You do 5 a game when we're in season.
Sometimes quite possibly draft weekend and free agency. Sometimes I'm really busy, so don't you worry about that. I did recently. I'll tease this because we were just talking about the jersey thing. When they launched the jersey, I did have the idea to create a gallery sort of piece on like the evolution of the Flyers jersey. So that was kind of an interesting thing to do.
Yeah.
And it includes the best and the worst. So,
and the new one, which is the worst.
No, I don't think the new one's the worst. I think that I still think the 3D logo was the worst thing. The Chrome 3D logo was the worst thing they ever created.
Well, we're going to be off for another 2 weeks, and we're going to say what we said last time. Hopefully we have a little more news.
I sure hope so.
If we don't have news in 2 weeks, January 1st ain't happening.
Yeah,
January 1st is already unlikely, but if we don't have news in 2 weeks, January 1st ain't happening, just so everyone has a heads up. Kevin, is there anything else you wanted to say before we get out of here?
Not too much.
I don't really think so.
I'm gonna point to the board again where because I'm wearing my shirt that says it too.
Hockey
Fights Cancer Month, so supporting that best I can.
Absolutely.
It's on the board. Right below Oscar Strong, by the way, because that's another reason why we care so much.
Absolutely.
And I guess I certainly hope we have Canadian listeners. So I know they already had theirs.
We do
previous month, but to all of our American listeners, especially in the Philadelphia area who follow us faithfully, Happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy it and sit back and, enjoy something. Enjoy the day for what it is. Spend it with whoever you can. I mean, be smart about it, but whoever you can spend the day with, spend it and sit back and hopefully watch a couple football games and eat like you normally do. And don't change anything about that. You can still go to the grocery store and get what you need to have a good Thanksgiving dinner.
Yep. Just make sure whatever you're doing, do so safely, wear your mask, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yep. And we'll be back soon with that,
on that
note, we have to do, we'll be back soon.
On that note, happy Thanksgiving, and we'll see you guys in 2 weeks.